Fellas, what's up? Happy hump day. I was just thinking, I put out an email. You may have may not seen it. Hopefully you did. But just been thinking about, and I'll just kind of reiterate some of the ideas in the email. If you don't end up reading my emails, no big deal. But the whole idea around shadow work, our shadows, I was talking about in the email, like if you've ever been driving down the road and you're lost in thought about something, right? And you realize maybe you're going to Home Depot, you're going somewhere, going to the store, and then you find yourself turning off the highway just as if you're going home, right? Because we're so accustomed to doing it, kind of like your autopilot, not even really thinking about it. You just kind of fall into certain habits or rituals, patterns throughout the day. And next thing you know, you're driving home when you actually were wanting to go meet someone for dinner somewhere else, right? That is our autopilot. And our brain is a really fascinating elimination machine. Like, you don't have to think about how to tie your shoe. You don't have to think about how you might come to a door, right, that you've never been in before. And yet you generally have an idea that if you turn the knob, it's gonna open, right? So our brain has a lot of these shortcuts for efficiency. And yet, if you're not always being intentional and being aware of what you're going through and what life is throwing at you, you can fall prey, if you will, to some sketchy things. And so I do feel like for 30 years of my life, especially just from time I got out of college to about 30 years old, man, I was just kind of in autopilot. Autopilot from the standpoint that, like, I was always just kind of raised to believe that you just, you get a good education, you go to a good school, you get a good job with a good pay rate, get married, get the dog, get your dream car, have a nice home, and the rest, you should be happy, right? Like, I just kind of was going through the motions, and I had all that stuff. And yet I was so unhappy, so unfulfilled, and really was just going through the motions. And that is where, when you're going through the motions and you're unhappy and you're not clear with what it is that you ultimately want to create and find in the world, is where the shadow can come in and start playing around with your life. The shadow then starts showing up in areas where it starts to destruct your life. For guys, it could be any vice: pornography, alcohol, drugs, women, gambling, cheating on this or that, being a workaholic even, that's a kind of a sneaky one. Food can become a sneaky one. Things that you feel like, but I have to have this, we have to use this to live, and yet if it's out of proportion and if your health is being challenged by it, not a good idea, right? That is the shadow where we're just not in integrity with who we know ourselves to truly be. And so that is the slippery slope. And as long as you are going through the patterns and you're not evolving, because I've been there, but I've also seen plenty of my brothers here in town, they just do the same thing over and over and over, the same relationships with women, the same the jobs. They get into a job and then they get out of it and they say, you know what, enough of that, I'm never going back to that. Next thing you know, they're getting another job in the same industry yet again, and they hate it again, right? So you have to be really, really careful. Yes, it's scary. No doubt it's scary, man. But you have to be willing to step out onto what they say, the skinny branches, where there's not as much security, but that's where all the fruit is. The fruit is out at the end of the skinny branches. If you just stay hanging on to the trunk, not willing to risk, then guess what? You're not going to really get the fruit in life. So to really start focusing on breaking up the routine, try driving a different way to work tomorrow. Try a different routine, working out in the gym. Try going to the gym if you haven't been going to the gym, right? Eating something different, saying no when you say yes, right? Getting yourself a kombucha when you normally would get a beer, right? Some of you guys are like, what the hell is a kombucha? Look it up, Google it. But I'm just saying, start switching up your brain, because a lot of times we have a highway to boredom and a highway in our brains to instant gratification, and we have a dirt road to ultimate happiness and fulfillment, right? We very rarely go towards what it is that makes us happy, but we very quickly will go to depression or mind-numbing vices. So I say all this because you have to be willing to push yourself out of the norm. Otherwise, man, you're not going to get anything new. You're not going to get any new results. You're not going to find any more happiness. And that happiness is going to come as a result of you creating progress in your life. And, progress through your health, your physical health, your mental health, health of your relationships, health of your career, right? Because what's the point? What's the point of all this in the times that we live in right now, which is the most abundant of all mankind's history, humankind history? We are living the most abundant lifetime ever, and yet more of us are unhappy than in all human history. We're more unhappy than past generations. And why? It's because I think we have so many reasons and things to distract us from the things that we truly want. So if you're not asking yourself what is that you truly want, like I posted the other day on Monday, another video, then you're gonna pretty much, what does the saying say? Like, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. So you got to start standing for something, man. You got to start jumping into life and raising your hand and stepping forward with courage and speaking up and being willing to rock the boat, and it can be scary, but it gets easier the more you use that muscle. So anyways, guys, we'll catch up soon. Hope you have a great day. Be safe.